All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final breakout session, and thank you for joining me. Certainly an honor to be here to speak about a topic that means a lot to me, which is self-care, and it's an honor to be here. My name's Elaine Dusadzina. I'm a certified health and wellness coach, as well as a lifestyle medicine coach. And I'm the founder of Evoke Strong, where it's my mission to serve women veteran leaders seeking support to make lasting lifestyle changes. Now, before I start, I like to acknowledge my team that's behind me, supporting me and running the session. I have two chat moderators, Christine Burke. She's a personal trainer with Lighthearted Fitness and also a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach with Skinny Jean Project. And Linda Ortiz, who's a fellow Well Coaches certified health coach, is also a trainer. And they will be ready to answer any questions that you may have, either in the public session chat or in the Q&A for under Zoom. And I can't forget my Toastmasters mentor is also here, Eric Linder, who will be handling any technical issues that you might encounter. So my goal for this session is to make it as engaging as possible. I will be asking questions for you to reflect on. So if you have a piece of paper and pen handy, go ahead and grab that so you're able to write down any thoughts, insights, or takeaways. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. So I'm going to ask you to look at these two images and tell me, how would you like to feel at the end of the day? The person to your left who looks like she is exhausted and may be on the verge of burnout. Or the person to your right, she's got her arms raised, she feels energized and content with what she's accomplished for today. So if you're like me, I would like to feel energized at the end of the day. And it's my hope that the session will bring out that part of you who values self-care, who makes it a priority so that you develop a foundation of self-care habits that will energize you, help you to be more productive and feel accomplished at the end of the day. So just a quick intro about me. I served in the Navy for 11 years as a surface warfare officer, as well as an engineering duty officer. I resigned my commission while my husband stayed until retirement so I can take care of our two daughters. So we're a family of 4 plus a dog, so it's really a family of 5. And what led me to health coaching was my journey to wellness. When I realized that I needed to make changes in my lifestyle to restore my health, to focus on self-care so I'm able to serve those whom I love, as well as to serve my community in the best way I can. So again, I'm so grateful to have the opportunity today to share the power of self-care and the positive impact that it has, not only to you, but also to the benefit of others. So these are the 3 questions that we are going to answer for today. Why is it important for you as leaders to prioritize self-care? What self-care habits feed your energy? And how to implement a self-care routine into your day. But first, let's get on the same page. And I'm going to spend a couple of minutes to define the word self-care. When you hear that word, what comes up for you? And I'm going to encourage you to write in the comments or in the public chat what comes up for you when you hear the word self-care. And some of us might perceive that self-care is something that we have to go out of our way to do, perhaps a trip to the day spa to escape and have a relaxing day. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. We can all use a day of pampering, although that's something we can't freely do nowadays because of COVID, but maybe in the past, that's something that may have come up for you when you think about self-care. But what I'd like to introduce today are practical ways of incorporating self-care behaviors into your day. So let me see if anybody has answered in the chat at all. I don't see anything, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get down to the definition, and this is what resonated with me the most. I'm gonna be going back and forth between screens here. So what is self-care? It's the practice of taking an active role in nurturing one's own well-being. And I love the words that I highlighted that are used in this definition. Practice means it's not about perfection. It's about progress that we learn and grow from our experience. Taking an active role means we're making conscious choices. And you'll hear me say this repeatedly in this session, that awareness goes a long way. As far as nurture, that means caring for your well-being, focused on growth, and that we are continuously evolving to develop to the person that we want to become, to discover what ultimately brings you joy, meaning, life satisfaction. And well-being is not just our physical well-being, but also our mental or emotional, as well as our spiritual well-being. So with that definition in mind, let's move on to answer the first question. Why is it important for you as leaders to prioritize self-care? And I love this quote by Eleanor Brown. Rest and self-care are so important. When you take the time to replenish your spirit, it allows you to serve others from the overflow. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. And you may have heard this phrase before, perhaps said in a different way, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if we can just think and let's imagine for a moment, when your vessel is full, when you have that abundance of energy and you feel good inside and out, that has a ripple effect where the people whom you interact with are positively impacted, the people whom you serve, whether it's your family, your friends, those whom you work with. I mean, it's just it ripples into that circle of community. So I know it's a challenge to prioritize self-care, especially those who are selfless leaders, those of you out there who are committed to serve others, and it's hard to say no. And I'm thinking about, right now in my head are the first responders and the healthcare professionals. I didn't mention it earlier, but I actually had to evacuate with my family last night because of the Willow Glen fire. And I was just thinking about the firefighters who were out there tirelessly working and how they're just, committed to doing that. And that can be tiring, of course, if you don't take the time to rest, if you don't take the time for self-care, that catches up with you and it leads to burnout. And it takes away from your ability to serve in the best way possible. So for myself, something I've noticed is when I'm under a lot of stress, I've mentioned not saying no. I'm a yes person, and I'm trying to work on that. So I tend to overcommit and then put a lot of expectation on myself. My body starts to give me signals, and I can feel my body talking to me where I'm achy, I'm tired, like exhausted, I can't focus at all, and kind of almost sounds like COVID symptoms, but this was way before COVID. So sometimes I would get a cold, and I've had to take a day off so I can recover in bed. And that's something that I keep on the top of my mind because I know that it will eventually lead to burnout. So I'm going to ask you, how many of you have felt the same way? To be physically, mentally, or emotionally exhausted? If you have, type in yes. And it looks like three participants raised their hand, all right. Or you felt all of that, being physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausted. And I'm seeing yes responses. So I'm going to share with you a recent statistic here. And this was a study from Blind back in May of 2020, which is an anonymous professional feedback platform, and that 7 in 10 professionals reported that they are suffering from burnout. And one of the reasons that was cited was because that separation between work life and home life, as more professionals are working from home, having to juggle responsibilities. Those who are parents, I empathize with you, with kids are also at home with online learning, and that is definitely challenging. Other reasons that were cited were job insecurities as well as financial hardships. And there has been an increase in the number of stressors where people are becoming more mentally and physically exhausted. So let's take a quick look at stress. Now, stress is our body's natural response to a demand or challenge, something that personally affects us and it gets in the way of meeting our needs. So usually we view stress as something that isn't good for us because according to research that 60 to 80% of primary care doctor visits are stress related. So it does have a significant effect on our well-being. But I'm going to challenge you. Is it possible to perceive stress in a way that helps you to grow, to learn from the experience? And I know in the past session, the plenary session, it talked about making or finding opportunity in a crisis. And I think it's that idea here. So my invitation for you is to take a look at your personal challenges and consider flipping that script. 2020, it has thrown us for a loop, and we've been presented with many challenges that I personally feel it's been difficult to somewhat see the light. Again, is it possible to see the good? How might you change your thoughts to see the benefits of the current situation you're in? And I was had a conversation with a friend a couple of months ago, and he talked about how he now works from home, which actually afforded him the time to spend with his family because he no longer had to commute. For myself, it's given me a time to slow down a bit. I don't have to rush around to take my kids to their activities. And it has allowed me to reflect on my values and to what truly matters to me the most. So finding the good while at the same time staying realistic about your experiences can make a difference. And it's in our perception of that particular stressor that can either help us grow or break us down. We can look at the stressful challenges as either a benefit to our bodies and our minds that help us to improve and become more resilient. And thinking about also the caveat that it's in the right amount of dosage, because small doses of stress is an opportunity for growth. But on the other hand, chronic stress, one that's unrelenting, when again we don't allow ourselves the time for rest and self-care, this is what eventually leads to burnout, to be mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. So awareness goes a long way. Pay attention to what your body is telling you. Are you starting to experience some signals of stress? And some of you may be feeling muscle tensions. That's what I usually feel. Body aches, maybe low energy, and you know your body best. By having that awareness, perhaps you can take a step back, maybe even reach out for help if you need it. And I believe this is also when self-care comes to the rescue. Once it's part of your lifestyle, you're able to cope with stresses in a healthy way. So I want to share with you a story of someone who had an experience with burnout, and this is what led her to start a well-known company today that's focused on helping people improve their well-being. She's been recognized by Time Magazine as one of the top 100 influential people, and she's also a New York Times bestselling author. You may be able to guess who this person is. She's also the co-founder of Huffington Post and now the CEO of Thrive Global. And that person is Ariana Huffington. And back in 2007, she experienced her, what I call a running on empty wake-up call, where she collapsed at home and woke up in a pool of blood. And she cut her eye, she had a broken cheekbone, went to the ER, and then after that incident had to go to different doctors to find out if there was anything wrong with her brain or if she had any other type of physical condition. But what eventually came out of all of those exams, she found out that her fall was because of burnout and sleep deprivation. She was working at that time 18 hours every day to build her business. And this made her question the definition of success. She had the money, she had the power, yet she was unfulfilled with her life. So in her quest to redefine success, this is what led her to write the book Thrive, which is a New York Times bestseller, and also what started her company, Thrive Global, and she made it her mission to end the burnout epidemic. So when Ariana Huffington realized the value of her well-being, she cut down her work hours, she prioritized her sleep, and ended up writing another book about that, which is called The Sleep Revolution. So when Ariana was asked in an interview, I found this article from the discoveryourtruenorth.org. She was asked this question: what did the fall teach her about being a leader? And this is her response. Well, simply, I can't lead if I'm not around. You have to take care of you before you can care for your business or the people who depend on you. Having a successful company is wonderful, but at what cost? I had been pushing myself hard for a very long time, and it took its toll. So I'm going to pause for a moment to allow for Ariana's words to sink in and have you think about what is the cost of not taking that time, not prioritizing your well-being. And then I'm going to invite you to think about your personal why, one that's compelling for you. And also think about how would your life be different when you do prioritize self-care. So feel free to write that reason down, and it might take you some more time to reflect on that question of why is it important. Share with us in the chat if you feel like doing so. And it's important to spend some time in self-reflection and self-discovery. As you answer that question, you make a connection with the benefits of self-care, and that will help you move forward to take action. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if there are any comments here in the public chat. All right, so someone had mentioned definition of self-care is value oneself and do the things that gives me well-being to prevent burnout. And what else is here? All right, so now that we have the why, let's move on to the what. What self-care habits feed your energy and also can help you be more productive throughout the day? So I'm going to review again the definition of self-care, the practice of taking an active role in nurturing one's own well-being. And I'm going to bet that most of you already know how the behaviors to take care of yourself, what your body needs, what your mind needs to function optimally. So the self-care behaviors The self-care habits I'm going to share with you are the same behaviors that lifestyle medicine focuses on. And these are behaviors that affect quality of life as well as your health. So they are healthful eating, physical activity, stress management, social connections, sleep, as well as substance avoidance. And if you're not familiar with lifestyle medicine, this is an evidence-based approach to prevent, treat, and even reverse chronic disease by replacing unhealthy behaviors with positive ones, the ones that I just mentioned. So all of these behaviors, whether it's eating well or being socially connected, they all come into play as part of our everyday self-care. And when you practice them daily, they feed your energy. So as I've mentioned, a lot of you might already be familiar with each behavior. So this is going to be a brief overview of each. And what I'm going to do is follow each with questions that you can think about so you can continue to build self-awareness. All right, first one is healthful eating. And I love this quote by Michael Pollan, and it was in his book, In Defense of Food. It's a succinct quote that answers the question of what to eat. And it's eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Basically, eating plenty of whole, minimally processed foods, vegetables, fruits, legumes, beans, nuts, and seeds. Something that doesn't need an ingredient label, something that's whole and it doesn't come in a box. So right now, only 1 in 3, I mean, not 1 in 3, 1 in 10 eat the recommended 2 to 3 cups of vegetables daily. So imagine the nutrients that you may be missing out on for brain function and lasting energy that are derived from eating a variety of whole foods. So let's talk about awareness, being mindful and having more awareness towards food choices. And a few questions that you can ask yourself is, how would this affect my overall well-being? Not just for the short term, but also in the long term. Will it nourish my body? Will it nourish my mind? Is the food nutrient dense? Is it full of vitamins, minerals, fiber, or is it calorie dense without the nutritional value, like ultra processed high sugary foods? And then the last question is it what I truly need? This last question is a way for you to recognize if you're eating for comfort or to meet another need besides hunger. I've noticed that for myself, I tend to snack more when I'm stressed. So just simply noticing, am I hungry, or is it something else that I need that I'm reaching for sugar, or I'm reaching for some type of food to meet a need that I'm not meeting right now. So let's move to physical activity. And let's talk about the benefits. The more benefits you know, and when you make a connection with these benefits, again, this helps you to take action, and it starts to become more part of your lifestyle. So studies have shown that exercise boosts our energy and mood. It improves our productivity with increased alertness, concentration, and also increases our mental well-being. So it's an excellent way to relieve stress. Let's find ways to move, and any movement is better than no movement. So it doesn't matter. Take a minute, 10-minute break, 5 to 10-minute break, go for a walk, maybe put on some music, go dancing, I don't know, move your body somehow. It's up to you to decide what works best for you. And then ask yourself, how do you feel when you take a break to move your body? Do you feel that you have more energy? Is your mind more clear? I know that's something that I do, is I take about 5 to 10-minute break after an hour of sitting down, and I go outside and play with our dog, and that usually energizes me again to sit back down and look at my laptop. But that helps me out. So I'm going to encourage you right now to, hey, let's get some movement in. Let's just take a minute and maybe rotate our necks. If you're sitting, maybe stand up and move around. I'm already standing up. Yeah, just stretch your arms. All right. And just let's get, oh, my neck. And we are going to continue. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen again. All right. Oh, sleep. Who else here values sleep as much as I do? And I didn't get much sleep last night because we evacuated. So I'm running on like 4 hours of sleep, and I can feel it, but I'm here and I'm trying to get as much energy out during this session. And yeah, if there's one thing I can't afford to skimp on, it's sleep. I need to get at least 7 hours, or it's just I don't function very well. So the recommended hours is about 7 to 9. And it's not only quantity that counts, but also quality. Do you sleep through the night, or do you wake up a few times at night and sometimes even have a hard time falling back asleep? So some questions that you can ask yourself if you're getting a good quality of sleep, and this is when you check in with the way you feel during the day. Are you productive? Or are you feeling upbeat? Do you have energy? Or do you get irritated more easily, where the little things that normally don't bother you are suddenly annoying? And maybe it's harder for you to focus, or you're drinking a lot of caffeine, a lot of coffee. I know I had to drink a few cups of coffee this morning, or eating something with tons of sugar. So those are just some things you can ask yourself and examine to see, hey, am I getting enough sleep? Oh, how's my quality of sleep? So ask yourself those questions. And lack of sleep also causes added stress to our bodies. So let's gonna move on to healthy stress relief. And these are 3 practical approaches for healthy stress relief that I got from the book, Changing to Thrive. I really like the way they phrased it: for relax, walk, or talk. And it's the book by Jan Prochaska, Changing to Thrive. So relax. What's the best way for you to relax? And this is an individual preference, and there's different ways we can relax. I like to do breath work. Yoga is another thing that I like to do, as well as laughter. I try to incorporate humor, and my husband and my kids love to laugh. They like to make me laugh, so I'm very grateful for that, as well as human touch, just getting hugs, maybe even petting an animal. We pet our dogs when we're feeling a little bit stressed, and that helps us to relax. We already talked about walking or some other type of exercise that you can do to relieve stress, as well as talking with friends, family members, maybe even a coach or a therapist. Those are just some ways that you can relieve your stress in a healthy way. And I'm just gonna make a point about, sometimes we want to sit down and have a glass of wine, which is fine, but this is one that we're avoiding substance avoidance, where we have to watch out if we're, when we're stressed, we tend to drink more or smoke more. And I'm actually going to talk about that in the next slide. So I talked earlier about recognizing physical symptoms of being overstressed. And you can also recognize signs of stress that are hiding behind unhealthy behaviors. So either when you're stressed, do you smoke more? Do you find yourself drinking more or eating more comfort foods? Being sedentary, you don't want to do anything, or maybe you worry more than usual. So those are just some of the ways that stress can manifest in unhealthy behaviors. So something to watch out for. And when you practice healthy stress relief, either to relax, to walk, or talk, what usually happens is that it moves you away from the unhealthy behaviors. So try and find out for yourself what happens when you practice stress relief, if that helps you to drink less or to worry less, something that find out for yourself if it works. And last is social connections. We all have the need to belong and connect with others. The kind of relationships we have it has a strong impact on our physical, our mental, and emotional well-being. And studies have also shown that strong social ties contributes to longevity. I was reading the Blue Zones book, and they talked about how in Okinawa, that's many of the centenarians live, have what's known as it's called a moai. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it means meeting for a common purpose. And that's similar to a social support network, being in community. So our relationships, meaningful relationships, they satisfy our emotional and spiritual well-being. And again, that core psychological need for us to connect with others, to be in community, and also to connect with something that's, for me, to connect with something that's bigger than us, which gives us a sense of purpose. And I know right now it's more difficult to make the in-person connections because of COVID. And I think though we've found a way to leverage technology. I mean, we didn't know what Zoom was, or a lot of us didn't know what Zoom was before March. And now we have a way to give and receive support from one another, and something that we can take advantage of. But I also want to express a word of caution of being too connected by means of social media. That's another problem that I might have. And it has the possibility of negatively impacting our well-being to be constantly attached to our smartphone, and how it can lead to maybe not authentically being connected with one another. So it's just something for you to think about. So let's summarize by looking at the self-care behaviors. And I have them listed here, and I put them in categories. So the left-hand side are what boosts the behaviors that boost your energy. So healthy eating habits, regular exercise, healthy stress relief, good sleep, meaningful personal relationships. And then opposite of that are behaviors that drain your energy and can also lead to burnout and maybe even to illness, and how much they empty your vessel. So I'm going to invite you to pick the top 3 that would give you the best energy boost, and keep those behaviors in mind. I know for me, sleep, stress relief, and exercise, those are the 3 that gives me the best energy boost. And let me pause to see if there's any comments for me to address. All right, just a lot of yes. It's hard for me to look at this screen right here. All right. Let us go to the final question here, which is how to implement self-care into your daily routine. So first, let's talk about one of the biggest barriers people have when it comes to self-care. And I'm going to ask if you can take a guess what that is. Oops, I'm sorry. What am I doing here? All right, I'm just going to go in the chat and see if you can. Oh, yes. All right, time, not enough time, motivation. All right, well, prioritizing time. Okay, well, guess what? You are correct. Time, 44% believe self-care is only possible for people with enough time. And this was from a health and self-care report. Also, there were 35% of people who believe that it's only possible for those with enough money. And I'm going to again point out that you don't have to go out of your way to implement many of the self-care behaviors, that they can be embedded into your lifestyle. So as I've already defined, I'm going to define it again. Self-care is the practice of taking an active role in nurturing your well-being. So with time as the biggest barrier, I'm going to invite you to do a time monitoring exercise. Again, awareness goes a long way. All right, so so this is about tracking the activities you normally do each day. So you're aware how you spend your time in a 24-hour period, and identify where might you find opportunities for self-care. And if you take a look, usually what takes the most time out of your day? Sleep and work. So in this scenario that I set up here, this person goes to bed by 10, wakes up by 5, gets about 7 hours of sleep, and then goes to work at 8, and work ends by 4. And so work hours can also extend to 10, maybe 12 hours. Or if you're like Ariana Huffington, that can extend up to 18 hours. But I'm going to keep it simple here, and we're going to go with this scenario. All right, so the first opportunity is around bedtime. And I like to say that having a good morning starts with a good evening. And what does that mean? That means going to bed, if it's possible, at a reasonable hour to give you the recommended hours of sleep, 7 to 9 hours. And also having a nighttime self-care routine, as well as an environment that will help you have better quality of sleep. What does that look like? So just if I were to brainstorm some ideas I've written down, I provide some ideas here. Is it possible to turn off your devices at least an hour before bed? How about doing some activities that wind down your mind? Maybe spending time in gratitude, or maybe in prayer, connecting with your kids or your partner, or maybe even with yourself, with journaling. And also with regards to environment, to make your room as dark as possible and as cool as possible. All those things help with improving your quality of sleep. And I'm going to pause here and see if you have maybe some other ideas that may be floating in your head that maybe is already a part of your routine that you'd like to share with the group here. I'm going to just pause and see if anyone would like to volunteer some answers. All right, I'm just going to move to the next slide. And we're going to go into the morning. So what does your morning look like? Like in this scenario, this person wakes up at 5 a.m. Please excuse my dog. I'm at home. You can hear him. I'm so sorry. So mornings may be the most ideal time for many people to have a self-care routine, as it helps you to start the day off right and gives you the momentum to win the day. So what self-care behaviors can you include in the morning? What's possible for you to do? Is it some form of movement? Is it an affirmation you can say to yourself the minute that you get up? I'm reading BJ Fogg's book, Tiny Habits, and he talks about the Maui habit, where the minute he puts his foot on the floor, he tells himself it's going to be a great day. And that has made a big difference for him. Is it spending some time outside in the sunshine, preparing a healthy breakfast? And I'm seeing a comment here, starting with breathing, getting centered for 5 minutes in the morning as opposed to planning a 30-minute meditation. Yes, starting with small amounts of time. I agree with that. Thank you. Pets are great for self-care. Yes, yes. They love to bark as well. But yes, pets are great for self-care, and I love our dog. He's been so wonderful during the COVID times. I've been going for a run with him every other day, and it's just been great to have him around. So, all right, morning routine. And then how about taking breaks during a workday? And I know a lot of us are working from home. Is it possible to take that 5 to 10-minute break to go outside for a walk? Again, get some sunshine and fresh air, to maybe take some slower and deeper breaths when you start feeling tense at work, or making connection with your colleagues either by phone, or if you're at home and your kids are also in a school break, to connect with your kids. And again, I put on there taking some time to prepare a healthy meal. And those are just different ways that you can brainstorm and have some ideas floating in your mind. And of course, please again share some of your own ideas. What do you like to do to take breaks during the workday? If you're working from home, please share with us. I would appreciate it. And hold on here, I'm sorry. So as you can see, in the 24-hour day, you can find pockets of time to practice self-care, whether it's at night or in the morning, or even during the workday. Find a period of time that works best for you, and it doesn't have to be something that takes a long time. Someone had suggested to start small, and we're going to go into that here in a minute. And so given those ideas, continue to brainstorm at home what works best for you, and how are we going to put these ideas into action. And this is the part that sometimes we struggle with, is we have intentions to exercise or to eat well, but then we have a hard time putting them to action. So it's starting with small, simple, SMART goals. And you probably already have heard that word SMART, which is specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-based. So creating that simple, making it as simple as possible, some type of a plan of action. And I want you to go back to the top 3 behaviors that you had identified earlier that gives you the best energy boost, and pick just one behavior that you're ready, that you're willing and able to take action on, maybe today, maybe in the next week. And I'm going to use myself as an example here. One of the behaviors that gives as an energy booster for me is healthy stress relief. And something that I've been trying to be more consistent with is yoga, something that I'm really drawn to, but I haven't been, in the past, I wasn't as consistent with it. So here are the steps that I took to build my yoga habit. And then step 1 is what self-care behavior are you going to do, and to be as specific as possible. And again, make sure that it's an action. So I said I was going to do yoga, and I already have a YouTube video that I know that I want to do. So that's the goal that I wrote down. Step 2 is ask when. When are you going to do it? And be, again, specific as possible. So every morning this week. And step 3, how long? 5 minutes. That's pretty short time, right? But that is the time that I wanted to try to do the practice and see how that goes for me. And the last thing is having a prompt. And this is from the Tiny Habits book with BJ Fogg, and he talked about how it's important to have a prompt. It's an indication for you to do the behavior, which is a cue. So this is an example of an action prompt, which is a behavior that you already do that can be a reminder to do a new behavior. And for me, every morning I turn on our coffee machine, and it takes about 8 minutes to brew our coffee. And during that time, I go ahead, after that would be the prompt, after you turn off the coffee machine, I'll do the yoga session. So that would be my suggestion for you, my invitation for you to try. See if you can go through this 4 steps and see if this helps you with taking action and being more consistent with that particular behavior. All right, I think I have covered so many things today, and we are actually at the end of the session. I can answer questions in the end. I hope you have a better understanding of the 3 questions that was answered today. Why is it important to prioritize self-care? How would your life be different when you prioritize self-care? And that's a personal question. That's something that you have to answer for yourself. However, the main recurring theme that you may have picked up on is that when your well-being is nurtured, when you're able to give more of yourself to others, you're able to give more of yourself to others, and you're able to serve to the best of your potential. So the second question that we answered is, what are the self-care habits that feed your energy? And they're the same specific self-care behaviors that are in line with the positive behaviors that lifestyle medicine focuses on, which is how we eat, how we move, how we handle stress, avoiding risky substances, how much we sleep, and how we are connected with others. And the last one is how to implement self-care into your daily routine. And that's where we identify blocks of time where you can insert a self-care behavior, or maybe even several behaviors once you're more consistent with that one that you've set. And however it looks, however you want to do it, my invitation for you is to start where you're at today, to keep it simple, to keep it easy, and start with only one. And that would give you more energy. So it's it's my pleasure again to be here, to have the chance to present today. It's such an honor. And if there's questions, I'm going to go ahead and see if there are any questions. Let me just, oops. It looks like the questions have been answered. Thank you, Christine. If there's any other questions, I'm willing to answer right now. Let me just give you my information in case you have any other questions, and that you can contact me directly via email, or you can also, again, leave the questions in the public chat. And if no one has responded, I will respond to it. Again, I'm grateful to be a part of this event. It's such an honor. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of it. And if there aren't any other questions, I'm not sure if I'm seeing all the questions. All right, let's see. Doesn't look like it. Oh, handout. I don't have a handout, but I can provide one if you would like. Q&A button. Let's see. All right. I can provide a handout for you, or I can actually provide this presentation if you prefer. Thank you again. Take care. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Goodbye.